I got to watch and finish with the family while they were in town. We watched Welcome to Derry. I really liked it. I really liked how it ended. I'll try not to delve too much into spoilers. There is a couple things I kind of want to touch on. I guess technically this would be the last 2 or 3 episodes. I'm not going to recap all of them, but I'll at least just talk about my thoughts on the finale and how everything ended up with the show. What my expectations is that I thought that they were supposed to end things with this show. If you don't know, they did not end things. In fact, towards the very end, they very much bring up a lot of questions and now have a lot of people speculating that there's going to be more of the show. I think at this point it's basically announced there is going to be more of the show. What's his name? Andy Muschietti, I think, is the TV show director. He has basically announced that they've already been given, I think, a season 2 and 3 from HBO. And where they've kind of taken the show is really interesting. Which, don't get me wrong, it's totally fascinating because everything that happens here is totally in line with what Stephen King, I would venture to guess what Stephen King has imagined for his universe already. It's totally fascinating. If you don't know, a lot of Stephen King's works and books and movies, at least in the book form, all of them kind of combine, or all of them have ties to one another. I guess you could say Stephen King might be the first multiverse. Maybe he might have been the first person to get to the whole multiverse with his arts before the Marvel and the all of that stuff. He might have been the first one to get there before Marvel and DC. But it's really cool. The end of the show has a lot of ties to other things. There's ties to The Mist. There's ties to The Shining. There's ties all over everything, which is really cool. Oh, the Shawshank Redemption. There's the Tower. The Tower. There's stuff too. So basically, where they leave things off at the end is there's some really cool ties, and honestly, they bring into question, and possibly there could be differences in the story. And I'll just spoil it a little bit. There is some time travel stuff involved, which is very cool. It's not cool and super innovative what they're doing with time travel, but how they're doing it is really cool, and who's doing it's very cool. So I'm thinking there's a possibility that there could be some of the timeline could be reworked due to some of the things that are happening here, which is very cool. Both in the future and in the past, which is cool. So I think Andy Muschietti has already said that he has plans of doing season 2 of Welcome to Derry, taking part. If you don't know it or Pennywise, he goes into hibernation and comes back to life every 27 years to feed. And then he has his big event that he kills a bunch of people at, and then he goes back to sleep and goes back hibernating every 27 years. So this show, I think, took place in 1965. So Andy Muschietti is saying that he wants his next season to take place in 1938, some 27 years prior to the events of this. And then the last season he wants to take place in 1905, taking place an additional 27 years before that one. Which is really freaking cool. I'm super excited to see, just to see the costumes and the environments and all the props that they use for earlier time frames. It's very fascinating. And that's essentially where the show's going, is going to other time frames and seeing other children and other people have to deal with Pennywise at different timelines, which is really cool. There's also another. I guess I should just spoil it, kind of. I don't want to. But there is a possibility in a future It movie. I think it's gonna be cool to see different eras, Odin. Yeah, I'm totally fascinated. There is a possibility now that we could get a sequel It movie, an It 3, but I think what would be more likely, and also just flat out more cool, is again there is the opportunity here for the timeline to totally change or alter. I remember a bunch of years ago this show was just a rumor and not really a thing, but it's cool to see its actual existence, says Odin. Yeah, and I really liked it. I thought the show was really cool. What I was getting at is that now there is a possibility that we might, because the Pennywise or the show is really messing with timelines and stuff. So, because timelines could shift or alter, there is a realistic possibility that I think what might happen is that the adults that we get from the movie 2, I'm thinking, which is really cool. This idea that I think they could be bringing is really cool. There is a possibility that the children from the first It movie, I think it was 2017, there's a possibility that you could bring back all of those children to play in the third It movie as adults, which I think most of them are adults now, pretty much in their 20s. And there's a possibility that we could get a different looking adults as opposed to the ones that are brought into the It movie 2. We could get the original kids from It movie 1 brought back to play their roles as them as adults, which is very fascinating. I'm really hoping that's kind of what they're leaning into. That'd be really cool if they could get all of the children back, as their adult counterparts. Which I don't know if there's ever been a movie or anything of the sort that's tried to do that or has done it. Brought back its cast in a later movie, but brought the actual child cast back. I think that's might be what they're leading up to. That would be really cool, really fascinating. And then it would just be, we've got to deal with Pennywise again because something has changed from the past or something. Very cool. I don't know. I'm jumping the gun on like the future stuff, but that's the most interesting aspect of the show to me, is just what could be happening with some of the later events and also the past events in the timeline. There's also some other really cool stuff. I mean, they had the black spot incident, which was very well done, and in one of the previous episodes, that was really cool. I loved all the kids that they brought in for the show. I will say I'm very happy that I feel like the show landed made its landing in terms of the ending, because it started out really great with the first couple episodes, and then in the middle it dipped. I was kind of worried because there was a dip, and then in the last 2 to 3 episodes I feel like it ramped back up and got good again. And luckily it was able to end in a pretty satisfying manner, which is good. So I really loved this season. I loved Welcome to Derry. I thought it was really cool. It would be cool to see a movie where it's the adults, but not as old as they were in Chapter 2, maybe showing how they dealt with their trauma and what their careers look like, says Odin. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what they're leading up to. I think what they're leading up to is that the next one is the original children from the movie 1, and they're probably not gonna bring back any of the actors from the second movie because, I don't know, they're probably too old. But I think it's going to be cool. I'm very fascinated to see. Well, I think what the predicament's going to be in the third movie, if there is a third movie, would be if Pennywise is going back and is trying to mess with the timeline. The predicament for the kids is going to be how, like, them dealing with something changing is going to be more the interesting part. Because if Pennywise or somebody else is able to mess with the timeline and affect something that affects one of the future kids, it's going to be, well, how do the future kids deal with that, knowing that something has changed? Maybe one of them has died, or one of them doesn't exist, or something like that. Whatever. I don't know how they're going to do the timeline stuff, but that kind of is what would be most interesting, is seeing exactly how things change and how they deal with that emotionally, I guess, to me is the more interesting aspect. There's a lot of really cool scenes. I'm really glad they showed this one. This scene was freaking awesome. There's a scene, I won't say, where Pennywise goes to the school and does some stuff, and that whole scene is like really cool. Like I will say some of the artsy stuff that this show does is like very cool. There's some cool elements here. Like I think this show ended up doing a little more than I thought it might. I don't know, for some reason I had lower expectations, but I feel like art-wise and like it had some very memorable scenes, is what I'm saying, and I really appreciate that. One thing I didn't know that I ended up finding out is that Andy Muschietti, I think the showrunner, is actually has been working with Stephen King a little bit. Like, he's had him on set and stuff, and they've been taking advice from him, and just kind of he's been kind of showing him around what he likes and what he doesn't like, which I very much appreciate that Muschietti has had Stephen involved with everything. It's really cool. I appreciate that very much. The show also introduces and has a lot of the Native American lore, and all of that is so cool and so well done. The show, I remember earlier on in the season, there's some really cool stuff where, like, some of my favorite stuff is how, like, the early Native Americans, how they viewed it. Because if you don't know Pennywise, the monster, it, takes the shape of whatever fears or whatever the things that scare you are. And like, it's so cool that they showed this, but in like the earliest time frame when it like originally lands on Earth or something. It's so freaking cool to see that, like, to the Native Americans, he was taking the form of like a moose or something, or he would take the form of like a bird, because that's the only thing that like the people, the natives of that time, that they saw. And then at one point he just takes the shape of like a basic white dude in like a religious uniform, because that's what the people coming over were doing, was trying to spread their religious beliefs and essentially enslave or kill off the Native Americans. It's so funny. Again, just that whole aspect of like, at one point they show a scene and Pennywise is just a white guy in a religious outfit. I don't know. It's very cool. I really enjoyed the show and what it was doing. Again, it taking the shape of like a moose or an eagle, because that's the only thing that the natives could identify with that was scary to them. Very cool. Very, very interesting. I really liked all that. I don't know what else to say. I really enjoyed the show. It's really well done. I wholeheartedly recommend you go out and check out Welcome to Derry. Go check out the movies. This really makes me want to go watch those other two movies now, and I don't know, I guess kind of look and compare with what I saw there, because there's some, they have some stuff, like they have some characters from the two or new movies who actually shows up here. There's a couple people, and it's very cool. So I appreciate the show. Thank you so much, Machete, I should say. Again, the fact that Stephen King is like tied to this and is giving advice and stuff, very, very neat, very cool. I appreciate all of it. So that's it. I really like Welcome to Derry. Go check it out. I'm very curious to see where they go with whatever they're trying to do here. It feels like the Machete guy is trying to kind of create possibly his own multiverse universe kind of going here. Oh, I forgot to mention, there's also the possibility that we may get a new Shining TV show that kind of, if you don't know, one of the characters at the end of here does announce that they are going to work at like he doesn't quite say the Outlook Hotel, but he references something to the avail of like, I've just been offered a job at this brand new hotel that's in, I don't remember, he said like Colorado or something. He's like, I just been offered a job at this brand new hotel, and they're bringing me on to do the music, or I think he said the music or the kitchen. I think it was something that like, they want me to run the kitchen over there or something. And it's like, you're going to the Outlook Hotel, aren't you? And very cool. So there's a possibility that if Stephen King really likes this Machete guy, maybe Netflix, not Netflix, maybe HBO lets him do a Stephen King Shining. Maybe if the timeline is totally changing, maybe it could alter the timeline within The Shining, and maybe Dick Halloran doesn't die in The Shining or something. Maybe there's other events that could happen over there. Maybe little Danny Torrance, maybe there's some different things with him. Maybe Jack Nicholson doesn't go crazy. I don't know what their plans are with The Shining, but it feels like there could be a Shining TV show. We'll see. Like I said, I'm sure HBO loves this, but like, there's so many different options that they have now with the Stephen King lore and all the books and everything. Who knows what they could be planning here. I'm excited. As long as this Andy Machete guy is involved and Stephen King is involved, I'm happy. As long as the people I know that like do it well are involved, fine. Let them do what they want. I'm going to be upset if they bring on different showrunners to do all this other stuff and leave me with garbage stuff to watch, which I'm not. Once it goes downhill, I'm out. All right, everyone. That was Welcome to Derry. There you go. I really liked it.
Well, well. Looks like you've reached the end, haven't you? You imbeciles. On Enter ChazmaN, you'll witness gaming brilliance beyond your comprehension. ChazmaN Live brings the drama. Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays at 5:30 p.m. EST. Long Plays delivers full journeys, uncut and unspoiled. Join the Patreon, Discord, Instagram, and TikTok below, if you can manage it. Still not following Enter ChazmaN? Then mediocrity clearly suits you.